Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. It's time for Ask Weezy with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. Who else are you going to ask besides Uncle Weezy on my show when I'm the only one here? But yeah, I'm here to answer your questions about UFC Orlando. 15 fights on this card. We broke them down all last night. Right about this time on Just the Tip. Gave you my ass shaving of the week, which was Jonathan Pierce to shave the ass of Darren Elkins. And now, some of these props are starting to fill out. I added one more tracked bet. We can talk about that today. But I wanted to see what's going on with you guys in the chat because that's what this show is about. It's just about, I just get to show up. It's one of my favorite ones to do all week because I just get to show up. I don't even have to prepare for it. I've already done all the research. I've already got most of my bets in, and I can just answer any questions that you guys have. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here. I've got the stats up. I've got the prop template. I've got the betting lines. I've got Tapology. I've got UFC stats. I got my track bets right here. And I've also got my UFC database here. So we can sort things. We can look at different weight classes, and we can go through all these stats that I have here so we can figure out ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks. It looks like I'm not getting a good connection here right now. Connection is unstable. Try plugging in or moving closer to it. Let me see something here real quick, you guys. It's all set up. That's good. All right. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but what are you going to do? Okay. So, let's see what's going on with you guys in the chat here. We got my guy Bob Spikerman is checking in from across the pond saying, let's do them damn things this week. And finally, my boy Roberto Soldic is fighting this weekend in ONE FC. That dude is juiced, and he's got crazy power. Yeah, whenever you're doing research for Dricus du Plessis fights, you're going to find those two fights that he had against Roberto Soldic and KSW. He's the former KSW 170 champ and 185 champ. I think that he was maybe a double champ, but the dude is an absolute monster. He's a killer. Dricus beat him once, and Roberto beat Dricus once, but they fought a couple of times. And yeah, that's fun, dude. Roberto Soldic, I'm gonna have to try to check that one out because that guy's always fun to watch, and I've really enjoyed his fights too, Bob. That's good. I didn't even know he was fighting. And then we got everybody's favorite producer from Chicago, my guy Kanye Ye West, checking in, saying, my man Weezy, what's your long shot of the week? Plus 300 or better. Oh boy, plus 300 or better, huh? Let's see. Holland, Thompson, Barbarina, Dos Anjos. Let's see. Anders Dawkins. Looking for a method here, or maybe a longer shot bet. Well, I mean, I think I taped props to consider and maybe bet with my guy Lou Betya earlier today. And what I gave him was something that I like out there for super long shots, something you can sprinkle a quarter, a unit, or an eighth of a unit on here. And that's going to be my guy JSP. You guys know that JSP is the ass shaving of the week. You know what a pace that this dude puts on people and how he wears people out with the pace, with the pressure, with the volume, with the wrestling, the ups and downs. He pushes a pace that most fighters can't handle. And Darren Elkins is almost impossible to submit. So I'm thinking that if JSP does get him out of there, it's going to be a result of that pressure, of that volume, of the attrition that comes over the full 15 minutes. So I believe Elkins or Pierce to win by knockout in round 3 right now is plus 1,600, I believe. Pierce by KO is plus 1,600 in round number 3. So that's a really long shot bet. I think Dawkins by submission isn't bad, even though I'm considering betting the Eric Anders money line because I think it's just too wide at plus 190. I kind of feel like, God, I kind of feel like that might be Dawkins' best win condition. And he is minus 220 for a reason here. He's a good fighter. He's a very talented submission grappler. Maybe Dawkins by submission. But I love those second and third round props for Jonathan Pierce. The pace that this dude puts on people and the way he out wrestled Makwan Amir Khani, I thought was really impressive because, Elkins is a very good wrestler, but so is Amir Khani. So I think that Pierce proved that his wrestling is up a notch. And I think he's going to get the job done here. So I like that long shot. I think the Dawkins by submission is a decent sprinkle. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at, Kanye. Good to see you in here, brother. We got Victor de Jesus saying, oi, yes, what's up, Weezy in chat? I'm busy as hell at work and won't be able to chat much during the stream. So my first question is, what's the max bet of the week? Max bet of the week. That is sorry, accidentally muted myself. That is a great question that Vic asks every week. And this week, I'm not big on these money lines, right? I'm just not big on them. I could see Max betting a couple of things. I could see Max betting the Rafael Dos Anjos money line. You know what? What would Dos Anjos? Let's parlay the money lines for Dos Anjos at 540 and Pierce at 450. That is a minus 223 parlay. That would be 5 units to win just a little bit over 2. And I cannot, in good conscience, tell anybody to max bet a parlay. So that is not the answer, Victor. Oh, God. So the bets that I have so far, Vic, are I've got that under 1.5, Tuivasa Pavlovich at minus 125. But at the line that it's at now, I wouldn't max bet it. I wouldn't max bet this at the line that it's at now. That's the Levy Gennaro Valdez under 2.5. The over 2.5 at minus 135, I think you can get it at for Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland is something I do like. But this is not a week when I really kind of feel like the max bets are screaming at me here. I'm pretty confident in Tracy Cortez, and I think the price is right there. Minus 102 right now on FanDuel. Plus 135 for Tracy Cortez by decision. Yeah, man. Dude, I think one of the more confident bets that I have, but I would certainly not max bet it this week, would be the over 2.5 here at minus 135 on Caesars for Kevin Holland versus Stephen Thompson. I do like that. The analytics like it. I think it's a good stylistic bet. So that would be the way that I would go there. And Vic says, question number 2, any chance you can bless us all with story time with Uncle Weezy tonight? Yeah, let's see. So for my guy Vic, who hooks me up on the regular, I can pull together a story time with Uncle Weezy. I saw this question a little bit before I went live, so I thought to some of my old college stories. And one time, there were some girls from a couple sorority houses down, some Sigma Kappas that were going down to Tennessee, to Memphis, Tennessee, to see the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead was playing for the first time in Tennessee in something like over a decade. And they were going to be playing at the Pyramid Theater in Memphis, Tennessee, right? So they were looking for some people to kind of like go down there with them and see the show, and so they wouldn't be like alone in a city that they didn't know. And there were some dudes that they were going to get like an RV and just pack a bunch of people in there and go. So, but there wasn't room for us in the RV, you know, so we had to take our own cars. So a couple of us decided to go. We got like 8 people together, and 4 people in one car, 4 people in another car. And we drove from DeKalb, Illinois, which is where the Harvard of the Midwest is, Northern Illinois University, down to Memphis, Tennessee. So we get, I would say, about 2/3 of the way there, and we're in Arkansas, and we're driving south. And so it's me, it's my buddy Brian, my buddy Pete, and I think the 4th was a cat named Angelo, but I'm not sure if it was Ange or somebody else that was in the car. But I remember Pete, and I remember me and Brian for sure, right? So Pete's sleeping, which he was always sleeping. And whenever we went on road trips, Pete would be up front in that passenger seat, lounging back and just out like a light, right? And I could never sleep in a car. So I was always up for these long road trips. You know, my back could be fucking killing me. And I hated them, right? But we're driving down there and it's nighttime already. And engine starts to sputter. And the car starts to die. We realize that we're pressing down on the gas. I'm not driving. I'm in the back seat. Pressing down the gas, it's not working. So we pull the car over, but no big deal because we've got the other car full of dudes. They're just like a few car lengths back. So we kind of pull over, and we both roll down our windows on the driver's side of the car. And we're like waving our friends, you know, to pull over with us because there's something wrong with the car, right? And so we're waving, and we see our buddy, and this dude Matt was driving, and he drove right fucking past us and fucking left us there. Now it's 1995, you guys. So this is when I was in college. It was 1995. We didn't have fucking cell phones, dude. You couldn't just text the guy and be like, okay, you know, we got we've got problems with the car. Pull the fuck over. Come back around. You know, no cell phones. So we're there on the side of the road. This dumb prick Matt drives right past us, and he fucking leaves us there. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We're in the middle of fucking Arkansas. We have no fucking clue where we are, and the car is dead on the side of the road. So we wake up Pete, who's fucking sound asleep in the passenger seat. And we're like, dude, what's wrong with you? Because he borrowed his mom's car in order for us to make this road trip. And Pete's like, well, what does the gas gauge say? And we're like, it says like a quarter tank, dude. He goes, oh, yeah, man. It goes, you know, empty at a quarter tank. Like, what the fuck do you mean it goes empty at a quarter tank? He goes, yeah, man. You know, once that thing hits a quarter, you're out of gas. I'm like, so we're fucking out of gas? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, and you didn't think to tell us, you know, that this thing runs out of gas when it hits a quarter tank? He's like, well, I was sleeping. So I'm like, well, dude, okay, all right, but we're in the fucking middle of Arkansas right now, and we're out of gas, and the closest gas station is like 2 fucking miles back that way. We just passed it, you know? He's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I was sleeping, right? So we're like, fuck. And so we're sitting there, and we kind of realize we're out of options. I think we have to walk at this point. We have to walk. You know, and so me and Brian are like, all right, look, we're going to go walk to that gas station. We're going to buy a gas can, and we're going to fucking fill it up, and then we're going to walk back here, right? And so it's a 2-lane, like not a 2-lane highway, but there's 2 lanes going south. There's 2 lanes going north. There's that big ditch in the middle, right? And we're walking on the fucking shoulder. And it's pretty fucking terrifying. It's late at night. You can't see shit other than the headlights that are coming at you. And there's like shit rustling in the tall grass. God knows what the fuck's out there. It's in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, right? So me and Brian start walking to the gas station. And, you know, he's got a watch. I don't. You know, we realize that we're walking it's like 45 minutes to an hour that we're walking before we fucking finally see some lights, and we're like, okay, that's the gas station. We're like, fuck, man, we're gonna have to get this gas. We're gonna have to walk an hour back. So we go, we buy the gas can, we fill it up, and it's just as we're filling that thing up at the tank, Arkansas State Trooper pulls up, uh, and we're filling up this gas tank, and we don't have a car, and he kind of just pulls up next to us while we're standing there at the pump. He rolls down his window, and he doesn't say anything for like 15 seconds, and he's just looking at us, and just stares. He's eyeing me up and down like a leg of lamb, looking at Brian. And we're fucking frozen because we're a long way from home. We're on our way to a Grateful Dead concert. So, of course, there's a shit ton of drugs in the fucking car, And this guy is just fucking clocking us. And after about 15 seconds, I shit you not, it was that long, he goes, "You boys need some help?" And Brian, just like executive decision, is like, yeah, we do. We ran out of gas, a couple miles south of here, and we got to fill up this thing, and we were gonna walk back to the car and get us to a real gas station, fill this thing up for good. And then he looks at us silently for a little while longer, and he goes, "You boys got one of them 3,000-mile gas tanks?" I mean, I don't know. Maybe that was like an attempt at a joke, and I'm like, nah. No, it's a regular gas tank, but evidently this thing goes dead when it hits a quarter tank, and our friend didn't tell us, so this is where we're at. And he's like, "All right, boys, hop in. I'll give you a ride." And me and Brian look at each other like, oh, fuck. So now we're bringing the Arkansas State Police to a car with a sleeping stoner in the fucking passenger seat, and my other friend, I think it's Ange, in the driver's seat, and there's drugs in the car. And, but in retrospect, when we look back, we were like, at least if we had said that we didn't want to ride, it would have looked 10 times more suspicious. So, this guy, like silently gives us a ride. He kind of gets out as we're putting, the gas in there. And, he's like looking around the car, looking at, the guy, Ange and Pete in the front seat. And, and me and Brian are just trying to act as natural as possible. And then luckily he was just like, "All right, you guys have a good day," and he drove off, and then Pete was like, "What the fuck did you bring the cops back here for?" We're like, "Dude, fuck you, man. We walked an hour, and then that dude asked us if we needed a ride. He offered. What are we gonna do? We're gonna tell him no? He would have gotten to you before we did, and he would have been searching this car and asking you guys all kinds of fucking questions." So lucked out that this guy was cool and didn't search the car, but we fucking filled that thing up with gas. And believe me, when we got to Memphis, we all wanted to fucking kill that dude, Matt, who drove right past us. We asked him, "What the fuck were you thinking? How the fuck do you just drive past us when we're waving you over to the side of the road?" And he goes, "Dude, it looked like you were telling me to go faster." And I'm like, "Really? Yeah, we were pulled over to the side of the road telling you to go faster? Who would do some shit like that?" So that dude almost got us completely fucked. Almost could have still been in an Arkansas State jail for as many drugs as we had in the car that fucking day. But I'm still here. I'm good. We got out of it unscathed. And then when we got to Memphis, dude, there's like 3 other stories that go along with this one, man. We had a fucking killer time. And it was a wild, wild fucking night. But that's a story for another time, you guys. Appreciate you, Vic. Thank you so much for the donation yesterday. It helped out so much, and I hope you're having a great night at work, brother. And we got my guy Daz Files in here saying, "Oi, oi, oi, come on, Ty, get a KO." He is looking for his Oceanic brother Tai Tuivasa to get a KO here against Sergey Pavlovich on Saturday. That is somebody's getting KO'd in that fight. And the funny thing is if you look at the line on this, fight doesn't go to decision at minus 1,100 on FanDuel. So they're pretty confident that that one is not going to get to the third round or the scorecard. So that's going to be a super fun fight. We got Creep in the room saying, cashing them like flapjacks, baby. Let's fucking go. Yeah, we've been hot here for these last couple of weeks, but we got 3 more weeks in the year. So got to keep our nose to the grindstone, do the research, find the good plus EV bets, and let Lady Luck take care of the rest for us, man. But appreciate you for hanging out, Creep. Thanks for being here. We got JSJ23 saying, oi, any stats where Wonder Boy ranks amongst the UFC oldest fighters and how well that guys that age are performing? So I saw that question as well. So I took my database here, Jazz, and I sorted it by age of fighter. And so I've got this little sort tab here. So we can sort this as many ways you want. But this is every fighter in my database. I believe there's about there's at least 688. There's over 750, I believe. But Alexei Oleinik is the oldest. Marion Renault, who's now retired. Trinaldo, Arlovsky, Damian Maia, who might be retired. Johnny Eduardo, who's old as shit. Leonardo Santos. So if we're looking for our guy, Wonder Boy Thompson, he is the 48th in down the list. So he's the 47th oldest fighter right now in the UFC. He's got names like Darren Elkins, Jared Cannonier, Tim Means, Muslim Salikov, Alan Patrick. You know, as you get older in this sport, it's a very cruel sport. So right now, you've got to really believe that the older you get, you don't see a lot of these names winning fights. Like, how many of these guys are coming off a win when you go up to the oldest guys? Oleinik off of losses. Renault off of like 5 or 6 losses. Trinaldo is ageless. Arlovsky coming off a loss, and the wins that he had were, flip a coin. I mean, he didn't beat Collier. I don't even think he beat Felipe, for Christ's sake. He did beat Chase Sherman. I think he won the last 2 rounds of that fight. But yeah, Maia was on a losing streak. Eduardo losing streak. Leonardo Santos, I think, on 3 or 4th fight losing streak. Guido Canetti, the ageless one. Teixeira, the ageless one. Look what's happened to Frankie Edgar. Sarah McMahon is actually retired now from the UFC. She's gone to another promotion, I think. Jacare off of some losses. Clay Guida still around, still active. That'll be his 60th pro fight for Clay Guida coming up here on Saturday. Matt Brown, Rothwell, the handsome Shamil Abdul-Rahimov, Ed Shortfuse Herman. None of these people are coming off of wins. Asensao is. But, yeah, I mean, these guys that are that age are not performing well. But when we go down here and we see the names around Thompson, Tim Means off of a loss. Salikov just got a win. Alan Patrick's looked like garbage. Harris off of losses. Ferguson off of losses. Hall not looking good. Brunson off of losses. Santos off of losses. Wineland. Miller off of some wins, but not high-level wins. Tyson Nam just got a win. Villanueva, nope. Danielle Wolf is only 1-1. But you guys get the idea, man. I mean, they're not performing well. That's for sure. But, certain fighters have less miles on the tires, and they can perform a little bit later. And especially if you're older, or some women can go a little bit longer, I think. Max bet of this card was RDA when that line opened up. And I agree 100% with that, Vic, because Jazz is saying it's RDA. And Vic, that would have been the bet. Like when RDA was minus 300, that would have been the max bet for the card, I think. Chronic Combat Conversations is in the room saying, oi, what's up, fellas? Good to see you in here. Need to be hit with some oranges ASAP for recent misgivings. Yeah, dude, sometimes we all make those dumbass plays. There was the one I warned you guys about with the 4-leg Bellator parlay where it was still negative money, minus it was like still minus 120. And me and Brady always have a line, when it's like 4-leg parlay and it's still juice. What could go wrong, And yeah, that is fucking, especially with like PFL sometimes and Bellator. That's where people really make some dumbass plays and parlay a bunch of shit on a bunch of guys that could probably, retire just betting on their opponent because they're minus 1,000. So, yeah, we all make those dumbass plays, dude. I bet Mandy Bone. It was only one unit, but I bet her in her debut against Lipsky. I still wear that albatross around my neck. This is something that us gamblers have to deal with. It's the dumb ones where as long as you admit that it was dumb and you learn from it, that's what's most important, my man. We got my guy Mushroom in the room saying, "Oh yes, what's up, Uncle Weezy? Good to see you in here, Mushroom. Saw your video there in Philly between Geno's and Pat's, and then that baller ass cannoli that you had in the car, man, looked good, dude. I want to know more about the Philly food scene, and who better to teach all of us than our guy Mushroom here. So good to see you in here, man. We got Melon J ass blowing a kiss. Good to see you in here, Melon. Always good to have you hanging out with us here. We got Daz Files saying Natan Levy versus Gennaro Valdez under 2.5 total rounds is minus 200. Thinking a max bet on it. Yeah, I should have max betted at minus 115, which is where I got it. It's so stupid, dude. The Tuivasa Pavlovich, I got at minus 125, and I was like, why am I only betting this for 1.25 units? Why did I only bet the Gennaro Valdez Levy under 2.5 for 1.15 units? I got to smash those for bigger. That's for sure. We got Nathan Robinson saying, could you please give just a quick rundown of what's on the spreadsheet and like how to read it? I get most of it, but there's a lot of data. Thanks, Weezy. Let's see. I don't know, Nathan, if you're talking about the matchup template, or I'm sorry, the not the matchup template. That's the empty template. But you're probably talking about this right here. So this, or I'm sorry, here, let me hit that back button. I don't know where. So right here, we on the left third of the sheet, it's the measurables and career experience statistics. So we got the tail of the tape, birthday, age, height, reach, stance, fight camp, and country. And then we've got the pro experience stats here, and we've got the UFC experience stats. And number of pro fights, record, cage time, average fight time, length of pro career, and then the number of UFC fights, UFC record, UFC cage time, UFC average fight time. And then the finish stats, wins, losses. And then we've got the UFC. This line right here is your UFC, and that's submission percent, knockout percent for both fighters. And then for overall, which means, UFC and outside of UFC. And then we've got the UFC losses inside the distance by submission and knockout by percentage, and then overall. And then over here in the middle column, we've got the UFC striking and grappling stats, total significant strikes landed, total significant strikes attempted. So Tuivasa in his UFC career has landed 354 significant strikes, and he's attempted 703. This is how many significant strike attempts per minute he's thrown, and here's how many he lands per minute. Striking accuracy, this is knockdowns divided by total significant strikes landed, and it's the percentage. So this is 0.0226 is 2.26% of the time he lands a significant strike, it results in a knockdown. And this is how many knockdowns they average in a 15-minute period. And then this is all those same stats, but just defense, what their opponents do to them. And then in the grappling stats, total takedowns attempted, takedown percentage, takedowns per 15 minutes, submission attempts for 15 minutes, and control time percent. So this is the percent of time that they're either on top of their opponent or they're controlling them on the cage. And then this is what they so Tai Tuivasa has been taken down 10 times in 21 attempts. So he's got 52% takedown defense. He's being taken down 1.74 times per 15 minutes. And he's allowing to his opponents 13.27% control time. And then this is the strength of schedule. So Tai Tuivasa, the sum of the records of his opponents is 95-60. The average record of a Tai Tuivasa opponent at the UFC level is 7.92-5. And you add those numbers together, you get total fights. And then this is the ratio of wins to losses. So 95 divided by 60 equals 1.58. So it tells you that's just a ratio that tells you how good their win to loss ratio of their opponents is. Are they beating guys with winning records, losing records? And this is overall, this is wins, and this is losses. So the guys that Tai Tuivasa has beaten, and he's got 8 wins, they have summed up with 66 UFC wins and 45 losses. Average record 8.25 and 5.63, 13.88 total fights, 1.47 ratio. There you go, Nathan. That is all the stats that is on the matchup template here. Excuse me. Woo. Oh, my God. Oh, God. T-Rex saying, let's get it. By the way, you a fan of visiting Vegas, Weezy? Curious. Yeah, I've been there 3 times. But it's been a long time since I've been there. But now that I'm doing this and I'm an MMA capper, I really do want to go out there. And plus, I'm a big fan of my guy Luke from Sparring with Reality from the Club and Sub podcast. And he just moved out there, and I fucking want to go out there and hang out with him and have him show me around the seediest gambling spots that we can find in Las Vegas, because it is Sin City. I like steak. I like sin. I like gambling. I like everything that Las Vegas has to offer. So yes, I am absolutely a fan of visiting, but it's been a long time since I've been there, and it's time that I rectify that and get out there sometime soon. Okay, Bob, yes. So Soldich was 170, 185 champ. What a stud, man. Unbelievable. And I can't believe that Drickus used to make 170. Can you believe that man used to make 170? That's crazy. We got Mushroom saying, Anders decision. Yeah, that's a good bet, man. I like that one. I'm going to be betting that Anders money line for sure at like plus 190-ish. It keeps ticking up just a little bit higher, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to see if I can get an even better price, but yeah, I'm going to be betting that Anders money line, Mushroom. I like it. We got Dick's Insider. What's up, dude? Saying, Weezy, please tell us some of your craziest or coolest experience while you were on the floors of the CME. It was not the CME. It was the Chicago Stock Exchange. Did you learn anything from living through Lehman Brothers collapse? Did you get into crypto after? You know, I was absolutely broke when crypto first started launching, but I was following the presidential run of Ron Paul back in the day. And because of that, I started learning about Austrian economics. I started learning a little bit about, where money comes from, how money is created, the history of the central banks. And because I learned all that, I started learning about putting money in gold, silver, and crypto. So yes, I mean, I didn't get into crypto in any meaningful way because I was literally broke after Lehman Brothers collapsed, and I went back to. I took all the money that I had and I went back to school to get that statistics degree. So, yeah, man, I learned a lot from living through that. I not only was on the floor of the Chicago Stock Exchange on September 11th, 2001, where we didn't trade at all. The markets didn't open that day because the towers got hit before the markets opened. But being on the floor trading stocks after that happened, while things were already starting to collapse in the NASDAQ market at that point, it was wild, man. So I learned a lot. There's a lot of stories that I certainly could tell. One of the stories was, I lost $20,000 in one day trading back in the year 2000. I was long 20,000 shares of a stock called Sequent, SQNT. They were bought out by IBM. And prior to them, so after the buyout was announced, it was announced at $18 a share. I had the stock was trading around 17, and the deal was going to close sometime in the next 3-4 months. So I just took a long position, 20,000 shares to try to make $20,000, just waiting for the deal to close, seeing that IBM was going to do their research and that this thing probably wasn't going to fall through. Well, there was a news story printed that said that there was allegations that Sequent was cooking their books, and when that story got printed in a small Beaverton, Oregon paper, that news kind of rushed through the market, and it took my stock from 17 down to 14. And I got a call from upstairs saying I had to trade out of the position. And it turned out that the story was false after I had to flatten out my position and take a $20,000 loss. And the story was false. The stock opened up almost at 18 the next day. And lost $20,000 and lost my job about 2 weeks later as a result of that trade. But it wound up being a good thing because the people that hired me after that, which is where my friend Mike was working on the floor, I wound up working for a much better boss, a much more honest guy. And I kind of caught that year 2000 boost that was coming through the NASDAQ markets and made a ton of money. So it all wound up working out in the end. But man, did I get caught in a dick saw when that SQNT went from 17 down to 14. It was bouncing all over the fucking place. Nearly had a goddamn heart attack losing that much money, dude. But yeah, I've got a lot of stories that I'll have to think of some. There's probably some great ones off the top of my head. That's all I can think of right now, man. But that was pretty good. Mushroom saying that Daz Files, I like that as well. JSJ saying, how much tape study do you usually put into each fight? So between writing up the fight, looking at the stats, kind of analyzing the stats, and then watching tape, like I will try to watch, depending on whether I've seen the fighter or not. Like if somebody's coming in and they're debuting, I'll try to watch all of the available tape. But if somebody's like, for instance, like somebody like Jack Hermanson, I will try to watch 2 decisions where he fights somebody that's going to be similar to the opponent that I think that he's going to be fighting that week. But in terms of, I try not to watch more than like an hour and a half of tape on any fighter, simply because if I were to do that, that would be, if I were to put 90 minutes tape study into each fighter, that would be 3 hours of fight. That would be 45 hours of tape study in 1 week. In addition to all the content that I do, writing up the fights, updating the stats, the analytics, all that shit. There's no way I could do that much. So I would say that most fights, I won't do any more than 2 hours total of tape study. But sometimes I will, simply because it's a fighter that I'm not familiar with, but there might be 6 or 8 regional scene fights, and I want to see all of it, knowing that if I've watched all of it, then nothing can surprise me. But like guys like Tuivasa and Pavlovich, I watched a little bit of tape, because I know exactly what these guys do. You can just look at the stats on the screen. 1.4 knockdowns per 15 minutes, 4.76 knockdowns per 15 minutes. Average fight time for Pavlovich, 2.52 minutes. And that's in 5 fights. Average fight time for Tuivasa is average under 1.5 rounds in 12 UFC fights. These guys are knockout artists. You don't really need to analyze the fine points all that much to know that somebody's getting slept, that somebody's going to wind up, really badly hurt. But you want to look at how they deal with other power strikers and whether they pressure or not, and try to take some notes along with that stuff. But like for Ducote and Hill, I mean, that's going to be a close fucking fight. And I'm not going to sit there and comb through 8 hours of Angela Hill footage to try to find how she might win this fight. No, fuck that. I didn't tape that fight at all. I don't care about that fight. But when I see fights that I really like the line, like Brady Heastand, for instance, last 2 weeks ago, when I max bet him, I had just watched all the Fernie Garcia tape before his debut, and I remember that he couldn't stop takedowns. But when I saw the line, I was like, oh, I got to hit this right now. I got to watch all of Fernie's available tape, and then I got to watch all the Brady's available tape. And if what I think I'm going to see is what I wind up seeing, I'm betting Brady big, and that's exactly what happened. So it's different for each fight, obviously, Jazz, but I would say at minimum, unless it's like some women's fight that's going to be razor thin close and I don't care about it, like Kovalevic's last fight, I don't think I taped any of it because I wasn't going to bet it. So yeah, I would say about an hour and a half would be about the average, because then that's what I usually try to do, is about 4 fights a day. If I can get 4 fights on Thursday, 4 fights on Friday, 4 fights on Saturday, and then a couple on Sunday before Stat Diggers, that gets me through a whole card, and I'm ready to talk about all those fights on Stat Diggers, and then I'll go a little bit deeper and get ready for Just the Tip on Tuesday. But that's how much I do, man. Bob saying Nicolau KO plus 325, Thompson decision plus 430, Dawkins sub, I mentioned that one, plus 300, Tuivasa inside the distance plus 300, Rowe inside the distance plus 290, Angela Hill fight and split plus 350. The fuck is happening this week? I know I like that. I like all those bets. I think they're all solid bets there. I would bet all of that, actually. Especially that Hill fight goes to split. It's going to be close. Please do a live stream where you tell us stories about your CME days and we roast marshmallows around the campfire. I'll do that one time. Maybe I'll even do that one time, like during the time off, in the month off. Just talk shit, man. We got Daz Fowler saying what's up to Mushroom. We got Lauren Williams in the room. Good to see you, Lauren. We got my guy Clint in here, who had Lou Betya on the Die Hard MMA podcast, saying, what's up, Weezy? Hope you get to shave some ass this week. Well, I hope Jonathan Pierce shaves some ass this week, and I hope my bets hit. I've got 5 bets so far, Clint. It is Tuivasa Pavlovich under 1.5 at minus 125 for 1.25 units. I got Levy Valdez under 2.5 at minus 115, 1.15 units. Thompson Holland over 2.5 rounds, minus 130, 1.3 units. Delidze Hermanson under 2.5 rounds, plus 140 for 1 unit. And then Tracy Cortez by decision, 1 unit, plus 135. I'm going to be adding on with the Eric Anders money line. And I'm also looking at that, goddamn, that Stella Nunez at plus 270, 275 maybe. Man, I think that's going to be a close fight. So I might add that on as well here. There could be a couple of big money line underdog bets coming. So we'll see what happens. But always good to have my guy Clint in here. The best goddamn show that there is every week. Good to see you, Clint. We got Lauren Williams saying, I fired heavy, okay, Holland, right when the first opened. Okay, yeah, because Holland, let's see. Where did Holland open? Because he's minus 170 now, minus 160. Yeah, minus 110. So you nailed that. And especially because it bounced up to plus money when it opened. But yeah, here we go at plus 103, and then it's minus 109, and it's just drifting lower, and all the way to minus 161. And I think it might have gone too far. You can't disrespect Stephen Thompson striking that much. And you can't really also say, if you think that, we know that Kevin Holland's going to wrestle him, because you don't know that Kevin Holland's going to wrestle him. He's more comfortable striking. So I think that's going to be a close fight. I think the value was on that Thompson money line at this point, but at minus 115, I would have been on the youth, the length, and maybe even the power of Kevin Holland, because that dude hits really hard, as does Thompson, obviously. But having to close that range might be a little bit difficult for Thompson. And having to worry about maybe the occasional takedown. If Holland fights smart and mixes that in, he could probably win some minutes with the grappling as well. So very interesting fight. Great main event. The only bet that I have so far, Lauren, on that one is that over 2.5 at minus 130. But I don't know. I might wade a little bit deeper into the pool on that one. We got Andy Becerra in the room saying, oi. We got Dixon Sider saying, Weezy, does Barberina have a better shot since it's only 3 rounds? I feel like RDA shines in 5-round affairs. This is only 3. I feel like RDA could be this week's Victor Henry. Hedge Bryan by decision. I don't think you have to hedge him, man. I think Rafi's a very smart fighter, and he's a very well-rounded fighter. And when you combine fight IQ and intelligence with a well-rounded skill set, you get guys like Dos Anjos who might be a little bit undersized, might not have the best power, but they find their way into the top 5 because they wrestle strikers and they strike against jiu-jitsu guys, and one of the best things about Dos Anjos is that he's always pushed the pace. He's always made his cardio and his output a weapon. And that's something that Brian Barberena does very well. But it looks better when Barberena does it against guys who can't match that pace. I think that RDA not only matches it, but I think he probably puts a pace on Brian. And the problem with Brian Barberena, and you have to mention it over and over and over again, unfortunately, is the fact that this guy is not stopping takedowns. He's given up 41 takedowns in 14 fights, and he's stopping them at less than 56%, my man. So 25% control time against, 3.32 takedowns allowed. And you got a guy in Dos Anjos who's gotten 62 takedowns. He's averaging 2 per fight, and he's controlling his opponents over 25% of the time. And when he wants to, when you look at Dos Anjos, especially in some of these recent fights, you're talking 800 seconds of control time against Moicano out of 1,500. 855 against Felder. He's the first guy to even take down. He had 16 takedown attempts against Fiziev in a 5-round fight. And he's the first guy to take down Fiziev thus far in the UFC. His takedown defense was 100% going into that fight. So there's no way that Brian Barberena is stopping the takedowns in the wrestling of Dos Anjos. And Dos Anjos is such a smart fighter. He's the guy that you have to worry about, wrestling you when you have bad takedown defense. So I think we can count on RDA to wrestle. And even if he doesn't wrestle, I don't think he's out of his depth on the feet here, to be honest with you. This guy has been in there with literally everybody. From Habib to Usman to Colby Covington, Robbie Lawler, Neil Magny, Cerrone, Pettis, Nate Diaz, Ben Henderson, El Kukui, and then Fiziev and Moicano and Felder and Chiesa and the current champion Leon Edwards. Come on, man. Dude, this guy's resume is insane. While Barberena is going hammer and tongs with fucking Jason Witt and Anthony Ivy, please. RDA is going to mop the floor with this dude. So I don't even think you have to hedge, my man. Just let the RDA money ride. This guy's going to take care of business. Nathan Robinson says, minus 385 for RDA to land a takedown seems very safe. Chance he wins early without a takedown. He could potentially what if he lands a knockdown and then gets on top and chokes him out? And then what if Barberena slips on a kick and then RDA gets into his guard and then gets an arm triangle like he did against Chiesa? That was not against Chiesa, but he got someone earlier, and it was the Magny fight right in the first round. He subs him. He's very good when he gets on top, man. So. But winning early without a takedown is not likely, but you always got to be careful when you're dealing with a minus 385 line for sure. Diakese money line, RDA money line, parlay with odds from a month ago. Also, Tuivasa under, Hill over. Gennaro fight doesn't go to decision. Holland over. Rojo fight doesn't go to decision. Merry Christmas, says Bob. I like all those spots, Bob. I think you're going to be cleaning up with those spots, my man. Antonio Esparza saying, thoughts on Holland KO? Wonderboy is old and Kevin hits hard. Yeah, Pettis knocked out Wonderboy, but that's the only person to do it at the UFC level, at least. Let me see here. So that's Holland. Here we go. So the losses are by decision to Brown, by decision to Woodley, decision to Till, and then it was Pettis who knocked him out, and then his decision. So he's only been finished once at the UFC level. And Kevin Holland, in his 11 wins, has won 4 times by submission and 4 times by knockout. Yeah, I mean, it's a 5-round fight too, but what's the line? I guess I would have to see what the line is. Holland by KO is plus 300, plus 330. I don't know, man. Or that's Thompson by KO. Holland by KO at plus 175. No thanks, man. That is not nearly even close. This guy's been knocked out once, and it was a punch that I don't think he even saw. But yeah, Holland does hit very hard. Stephen Thompson's getting old. It's a 5-round fight. I mean, but it's just not even close to being juicy enough for me at plus 170. No thanks, man. I'd rather take inside the distance, honestly, at plus 135 or so, just because it's almost the same as the KO line. And, Holland's got a pretty good submission game, and he's got really long arms, so he can lock up things that other people can't. Weezy, was the movie Trading Places inspired by your life? No, it was not, because I'm too young to have that movie inspired by my life. But I'll tell you something, man. When I was a kid, my dad explained to me what the futures markets meant in that trade, where they were talking about the frozen concentrated orange juice. And, they artificially inflated the market. They sold high. This is exactly what the Rothschilds did after they had the information that Napoleon lost at Waterloo. What they did was they started off the bond trading day by selling their bonds, but really what they wanted to do was create a panic. And that panic selling, they wound up sending in some other brokers to buy at the bottom. And what they did was they sold a bunch of shit up here. They bought it all back down here and then some. And then once the news came back that Napoleon had lost, then the bonds went way up, and the Rothschilds absolutely cleaned up in the markets there with having that inside information about who had won the war. So Trading Places kind of pulled a little bit of a story there from an old financial story that people tell about the Rothschilds absolutely cornering the bond market, and because they had information about the war. But this was them getting information about a frozen concentrated orange juice contract. And my dad actually explained what it meant that they were doing in that and he actually got me to understand it at a young age. And that was part of one of the reasons that I actually got interested in finance, as well as my dad telling me what stocks he owned. So then he would have me go through the business page, and I'd read. Even when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I'd be like, Walgreens, 27 7/8, up an eighth. Good. What about Sears? Sears, 50 3/4. Yeah. So I got interested in finance and money from a young age. My dad encouraged it, and Trading Places was one of the ways that he taught me about futures. It was really cool. Bob Spikerman saying that Dixon, great movie. Definitely, man. Love that movie. Melon JS saying, I'm thinking of going heavy on Drekus next week. What do you think, Weezy? Yeah, I mean, there's some missing information because we haven't seen our guy Darren Till in so long. He could wind up looking great. He could have made massive improvements. So because of that missing information, I wouldn't go too heavy on it myself. But Drekus looks good right now, and Darren Till just can't seem to get healthy. So, but I'd have to look a little bit more into the stylistic components of the matchup. But Till's not a good minute winner. That's the problem. He's too low volume. So, when somebody kind of just waits the counter punch, unless they're mixing in wrestling and he's not really doing much of that, and unless they've got that serious power, you can't really count on them to win minutes, and it's hard to cash tickets on it. So I see why people would be on Drekus here. He's definitely the guy right now that, I was, I might have, because I'm putting my stats together for the Patreon members for next week, and looks like I'm 7 fights in, and I've got Dricus. Here we go. So Dricus against Till, because Darren's still only 29 years old, but Dricus has got a 1-inch height advantage. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He's switching stances while Till's a southpaw. Almost as experienced as Till, but Till's got about 80 more minutes in the cage. Till been fighting 125 more minutes in the UFC cage, about 8 more fights. 67% finish rate for Till overall. 94% finish rate for Dricus. And Dricus definitely finishing better rate at the UFC level. He's been finishing both of his losses. Till's been finishing 3 or 4 losses, so fight doesn't go to decision might be a great play there. But look at how low volume is. He's only throwing 4.85 significant strikes per minute, while Dricus is throwing 12.69. And even though Till is so low volume, it's still Dricus who's right there with him on the percentage knockdowns per total significant strikes landing. He's landing a lot more knockdowns per 15 minutes. Till's a little more defensively responsible in comparison to Dricus. Yeah, I like Dricus here for sure. I mean, I like him, but it's just a little bit higher level of competition, obviously, for Till here. Brunson, Whitaker, Gastelum, Masvidal, Woodley, while it's Tavares, Giles, and Perez here for Dricus, So, man, yeah, I mean, I do like Dricus du Plessis here, but Till, if he comes back healthy and looks incredible, it's going to be rough for the Dricus bettors. But, yeah, I think he probably gets the job done. And then ring a ding-ding. My guy Tajik Bey saying, good luck on Saturday, Weezy. I hope I am as lucky as you've been lately, and because I know I've been hot, but I know that you are just absolutely printing money. I think you made like a $10,000 a couple of weeks ago or some shit like that. Shout out to the GOAT, always supporting the channel. I appreciate you, my man. Those kind of donations really change the game for me, and it really helps out. And I appreciate the constant support that you show the channel, my man. It means so much. Give it up for the GOAT. Appreciate you, Tajik Bey. Go get him again this weekend, dude, and make a bunch more money, man. We appreciate you. We got Dick's Insider saying, Brian and Peter, was that a real story to just describe a Family Guy episode? Story time is the best. And Chris, Uncle Weezy college road trip stories are epic, and Chris would know because he's been on a couple of them with me. JSJ saying, I'd absolutely buy a Memoirs of Weezy book. Yeah, that would be something else, man. Those college stories are a ton of fun, man. Boom saying, should have called Bryce Mitchell to tell you in his tractor, dude. Bryce Mitchell might not have even been born yet. So we've got Bryce Mitchell's numbers up here because he's fighting Ilya Topuria. Bryce Mitchell is born in 1994, so he would have been towing me in that one as either a 1 or a 2-year-old. Because that would have been 1995, I think, that we went down to Memphis there and got stuck in Arkansas. So, yeah, he definitely would have been a little bit young, but he would have been very helpful, though, if he would have been now, because that dude, like, you could drop that dude in the middle of the wilderness and he would fucking survive. Bryce, those country boys, man, they can survive, and Bryce can. I don't know if you remember when he was in the Ultimate Fighter house, and he was like, one day he said he was bored and he was going to build a bow and arrow and then whittle himself an arrow. And he did that. He built a bow and arrow from scratch, which is shit that he found in the yard and in the house. And then he made an arrow, and then he shot it in the backyard and hit a tree that was like 20 yards away. I was like, fucking A, man. If the apocalypse ever hits, you want Bryce Mitchell in your group of people, because that dude would be like bringing back wild boar and like putting it on his spit and cooking it for you, and it would probably be delicious. So anyway, yeah, man, that would have been cool to see Bryce Mitchell there, but I did not get that kind of help. Thank God. Thank God, man, that state trooper didn't look through the car. Weezy wandering on Bryce Mitchell's property in Arkansas late at night is a movie. Jay Stanford saying, "Oi, I want to see one day you help building a lineup on DraftKings Live." Oh, that'd be pretty cool, man. Jay, I do a show every Wednesday with DFS by the Numbers, Monk, and Gordo Gambles on Pub Sports Radio, where we break down our favorite DFS plays. So it's all DraftKings themed, and we give out a lineup. The lineup that I gave out today on that show was RDA, Jonathan Pierce, Natan Levy, Tracy Cortez, Eric Anders, and Estella Nunez. So check that out on Pub Sports Radio. And maybe, I'm always looking for new ideas for content. One of the favorite ones that I do is Ask Weezy, because I don't have to prepare for it. And you guys drive it, So if you've got great questions and shit that I can talk about, it makes it a better show. And you guys are asking some awesome stuff today, so I appreciate you, man. G-Man is laughing his ass off. What's up, G-Man? Good to see you in here, man. Dick's Insider saying Weezy was one bad decision away from being on an episode of Cops. Dude, I was several bad, decisions away from being on an episode of Cops for sure at different points in my life. 3 other stories. Yeah, once we got to Memphis, I'm telling you, man. We had some fun in Memphis that night, I will tell you. What's up, Weezy? It says Josh Locks. What's up, Josh? Good to see you in here, man. We got JSJ saying thoughts on Nicolau by decision at plus 150 or even fight goes at minus 110. Fight goes terrifies me there, Jazz, and here's why. If we look at the prop template, which is available, of course, on Uncle Weezy's Patreon. Let me get that banner going here on the bottom of that screen. So let me see. Oh, man. Yeah, okay. So Nicolau by decision, right? The problem is yes, Nicolau in his UFC wins, we can see right here, if I zoom in on this. Nicolau has finished 9 of his 18 pro wins, but he's only finished 1 of his 6 UFC wins. And he's a big favorite to win in this fight. So they're saying Nicolau wins this fight 75 out of 100 times. So just based on that statistic, you're thinking this fight probably goes to decision. But here's the problem. Matt Schnell's been finishing 4 of 5 UFC losses. So 80% of his losses, he's getting finished inside the distance. And Nicolau's been finishing his only loss, and he's been finishing both pro losses. So in Schnell and Nicolau's combined pro numbers, they've lost 7 of 9 fights inside the distance. And at the UFC level, it's even a higher percentage than that because it's 5 of 6. So that is what worries me, is the lack of durability of both fighters in terms of trying to get a fight going to decision. Because that's something, whenever you're betting that fight goes, a lot of times people look at the stylistic components of the matchup, but you got to look at, do these guys find the door when things aren't going their way? And Schnell finds that door. Nicolau finds it too. I mean, he's been finishing both of his losses. So that's what worries me about the over bets here. But the fact that Nicolau's been a less potent finisher, not only as a pro, but especially at the UFC level, makes me like the Nicolau by decision bet more than the fight goes to decision bet, Jazz. That would be the way I would play it. And we got my guy Chris in here. What's up, Chris? Long time no see, brother. I know you've been busy as hell working your hustle. Saying, "Oi, respect, Unc, and the MMA fam. Love y'all. I love you, brother. Hope all is well for you, man." Prince of Mischief saying, "Speaking of Drickus, how do you think he'll do against Till?" I don't think Till has improved much since meeting Hamzat. I think those two mess around too much, and Till is stagnant. Darren Tiliev, yeah. I don't know what to think of Till. See, I'm not going to be betting on that fight because when somebody like Till comes back from his, dude, Till has been out forever. Let's go to the fight center here. Oh no, you know what? We've already got it because your Uncle Weezy's ahead of the game. So these stats are going to be available to my Patreon members probably about 3 a.m. when I finish them up after Ask Weezy tonight. But Darren Till has not fought. He's got 1 fight in the last how many years? So the Whitaker fight was 2020. and the Brunson fight was 2021. So it's been a year and 2 months. And then before that, it was another year and 2 months. So 2 fights in the, since 2020, and it's the end of 2022. So he's been super low volume. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He hasn't fought in 14 months, and he's had injuries. So I just don't know what to think. I mean, if Till's healthy, he could look way better than people think. Or he could even look way worse, and Dricus could look like an absolute world beater, not knowing that Till's just, doesn't have it anymore. Because if you just keep getting injured, you can't be potent in this sport. So, I'm just not going to mess around with it too much. I try not to look too much at the narrative type of shit. But what I do know is this is the honest representation of what they've done in the cage. And those honest representations say that he's 1-4 in his last 5 and that win was a split decision. So not looking good for Darren Till right now. And Dricus is still young and getting better. Papa Chuck saying, I believe I managed to snipe an early Pierce at minus 454 and RDA at minus 384 money line parlay for minus 186 total. I max bet it. Yeah, I mean, that would probably be the best one that I could come up with when Vic asked, what would you max bet? It would probably be that parlay, but that's an if. I mean, I'm not max betting parlays ever. I mean, if you look at my Bet MMA Tips performance, and you can follow me there at Bet MMA Tips / Uncle Weezy. I'm up like 20 units overall, but parlays, I'm down 12.81 units. The parlays are just losing. And then you look here, like the straight bets are doing well. The props have always done pretty well, but it's those parlays that just absolutely kill me. It just seems like every time I put a parlay together, I run into a dick saw every damn time. So I've been just trying to avoid them as much as possible. And as you can see here, these last 6 events with no parlays, I'm up probably about 12 units over that stretch. So I think I'm just going to leave parlays in the rearview mirror, do my greasy 4-leg every week and not track it, and have fun with that every week. But man, these goddamn parlays, they piss me off, dude. Somebody finds a way to shit the bed every damn time I parlay 2 people together. Mushroom saying, what's up to Papa Chuck? Prince of Mischief saying, what's up to Papa Chuck? I see both of them shaving ass, and yeah, so do I, man. Yeah, you too, my dude, says Papa Chuck. We got Immaculaton saying, dying on my shield with Yarigi versus Nunez. My hardest fate factor is cardio, and Nunez has worse cardio I've seen in a female since Gina Mazzani. Certain that besides first round KO, she's got nothing. When you look at the fights where Nunez just strikes, where her opponents don't wrestle her at all, her cardio's fine. It's fine. But the grappling, when she has to grapple, man, does her gas tank go fast. So Immaculaton, if you really do think that Yarigi is going to get the job done here, I think you're making the assumption that she's going to grapple. My read on that fight is that when you watch the tape on Yarigi, I don't think you can count on her to grapple and grapple effectively. And if that's the case, if she just doesn't grapple at all, let's just say Yarigi, she's not going to look minus 300 against Estela Nunez. Estela Nunez is longer and taller, and she is just as powerful as her, but she uses a lot more kicks. So if Yarigi doesn't pressure, if she doesn't grapple, if she just stands in front of Estela Nunez, she's not going to look minus 330. She's going to look more like minus 110. I think it's going to be very, very close if they just stand in the middle and trade shots, especially because I see Estela doing a much better job of managing range because she's a Muay Thai striker who throws great teep kicks, great low leg kicks, and she keeps her opponents on the end of her punches as well. And she does throw with power sometimes, but she tries to take her opponent's head off, and that's another reason, pacing issue, that sometimes we see those cardio problems with her. Haven't seen the cardio problems with Haregi. So, I mean, I agree with you there. I think she will get better as the fight goes on. But if she's got to fight smart. Yaregi, it's on Yaregi. If she wants to look minus 330, she better pressure and she better grapple, because those are two things that are going to tire out Nunez. Let's see. We got Josh Locke saying, Weezy, do you think Brian Barberena can pull off an upset? I don't think so. I don't think. I'm not impressed with Brian Barberena. He's been in great fights, great wars, but the level of competition that he's beating are just not guys that I'm big believers in. And he's had serious back surgeries, was considering retiring just a little over a year ago because of these surgeries that he's had. So even though RDA is older and he's much smaller than Brian, I think that Brian might have, like, just in terms of the shape that the body is in, as many miles as RDA does, even though he doesn't have as many fights. So I don't think it's likely. But then again, at the same time, I don't have any bets on RDA either, because he's minus 550 at this point. So what am I supposed to do with that? There's nothing really. I'm not going to the wall for RDA here, but I think he absolutely gets the job done. I just can't find a way to bet it in a way that makes sense. So I get why some people are going to get on that Barberena side. It's a fat plus money number. He's younger, he's bigger, and he's probably got the better striking if this fight were to stay standing for long periods of time. So, yeah, I mean, anything's possible, Josh. I don't say that anything isn't possible, but I like the stylistic matchup a ton for RDA. Mushroom saying he will probably be upset when he loses. Dash File says, not the dick saw. And Usman Anjum said, I think tape studying makes you overanalyze fights at times. And sometimes when you watch tape, if you already have a lean going in, you start to look for things in the tape that back up what you already think. So there can be that confirmation bias there on your own end with tape study, but it's absolutely vital. If you're trying to just trying to handicap fights just using analytics, I would not recommend that. I mean, the stylistic components of a matchup, using your eyes just to get an idea of what fighters do well, what they don't do well, what their conditioning looks like. You can't see that in the numbers, what somebody's conditioning looks like. You can't see in the numbers, if somebody just kind of like hits differently when their punches just pop. With the pace, there's a lot of things that you have to study tape. But, if you're trying to cap 14 fights a week, there's only so many hours you can spend on each fight before you just absolutely kill yourself. And then you got to do it all over again the next week. So you got to really pick and choose what tape to watch. Mushroom saying, think long, think long. I hear you, man. Sometimes you just got to know right away. Otherwise, you overthink things, man. Just my 2 cents saying, what's up, Weezy? Good to see you in here, my man. We got Sean V in the room saying, yo, Mushroom, what's up, Sean? It's good to see you in here. At Tajik Bey, the GOAT is in the house. Yes, sir. The GOAT, always taking care of the content creators and supporting the MMA content community. We really appreciate the GOAT, man. Just my 2 cents. Which fight is most likely to end in a controversy? Ooh, which fight's going to give us some controversy? That would be interesting. I'm thinking Michael Johnson versus Mark Diakese. I think that one's the one, but we'll see. Mushroom saying, Sean V, what's up? We got New Hampshire Jay saying Cortez unanimous decision plus 165. I like that. I already got Cortez decision at plus 135, I think. Did I get plus 135? Plus 135 on FanDuel. Yeah, and the unanimous at plus 165. I don't mind that at all. We got my guy Tajik Bey with the eyes. What's up, dude? Good to see you, Tajik. Appreciate the donation, brother. Die Hard saying, oh, thanks, Weezy. Oh, yeah, you got it, man. You got it. Dude, there's a lot of us content creators that we know we made it when Clint asked you to be on the show. That's, I think anybody, when you start creating content, that's the one that where you're like, fuck, man, if I get on Clint's show, I know that they're noticing me out there. So I always appreciate the fact that you had me on. That it was huge for my YouTube channel. It brought so many people to my channel. It's one of the best shows that happens every damn week. And that's the hardest thing to be in this business, is consistent. It takes a lot of commitment to be there every week. And Clint's one of the ones that's there every week and bringing excellent guests, different viewpoints and mindsets. And if you watch that show every week, you get better at this. Because you learn from a bunch of different people who have been doing this and doing it well for a long time. So yeah, man, you got it, dude. Bob's saying, Weezy, please, my man, you got to bless us with some live streams during the time off. Yeah, man, I'll see what I can do, dude, because I'm going to be working really hard in the time off, trying to improve the Patreon product for the people that purchase that from me. I got to get these distance striking numbers in there, and I'm building the converters in order to be able to get all of that done. But it is going to be a project, and I'm going to need most of this month off in order to be able to do that. It'll seem like a month off for us content creators, but I am not taking any time off. As soon as this thing starts, man, this non-content creation period for me, it is going to be behind the scenes shit. I'm going to be here in this office a lot more than I usually am, just pounding away at improving this product. And then once I have the distance striking numbers and some of the analytics that go along with it, it's going to add another level of analysis to this. And because I'm building the database in a deliberately different way, I'm going to be building it in a way that's going to allow me to be able to back test to find metrics that lead to money lines, caching. It's going to be a lot more analytically sound analysis that I'm giving you, but it's also going to leave me more time to do tape study, because I'm building some things behind the scenes that are going to be able to reduce the amount of maintenance work I have to do every week when I update the analytics, when I enter the stats from the most recent event and then put them into my database. So having that extra time from the technology that I'm building over here will allow me to be able to do better for you next year and spend a little bit more time perfecting the content, making it more watchable, making it more visually pleasing, but also, having the best analytics that I could possibly give you guys. You the man, says Clint, what's up, dude? And Sean saying what's up to Clint. We got Gorilla Gamble saying what's up, T.O. Good to see you in here, Gorilla. We got NHJ saying I hammered nickel out minus 220 and RDA minus 300 a couple of weeks ago. And that is a lesson to everybody out there, that the early bird gets the worm. The further you get ahead, the more you beat this line movement. And it just means more profitability in the long run. I like the over 2.5 also. Good pick. There we go. We got Mushroom saying, Die Hard MMA podcast. What's up, Clint? And we got Bob saying, Clint, good show this week, my man. Lou Betya is a fucking boss. Goddamn right. We got Boob saying, I think Barberena is one of the most overrated fighters. What does he do that's exactly skilled? Spam 1,000 baby punches? Any fighter with a slight average fight IQ can neutralize it. Yeah, and he's shown that big hole in the takedown defense. And the ability to be able to be held down there is costing him. And RDA does a very good job of that. So that's why this line has gotten blown out as far as it has, because the stylistic components of this matchup are pretty obvious for people to see. Bob saying, I don't really like Nicolau, his volume. Yeah, I mean, the Nicolau volume, let's have a look at it. 6.96 thrown per minute, but his opponents are throwing about 2.5 more significant strike attempts per minute than Nicolau is. So, yeah, he absolutely is low volume, but he lands more significant strikes than his opponents because he's got a 67% striking defense. So you can be low volume if you're A, powerful, or if you're B, very defensively responsible. You can still either win moments with your power or minutes with your defense. Just by being hard to find and being precise when you attack. But yeah, low volume is not good for DraftKings, and it's definitely not good when fights are going to decision. It'll bring some split decisions like he had against Manel Kopp. Mushroom saying smash the like. Andy Becerra saying, oh shit, Clint in the house. Oh, yo, Mushroom. Sean, what's up? The diehard MMA podcast hammer. You got that right. We got just my 2 cents. I got Kev inside the distance at plus 138. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's a 5-round fight, and Kevin Holland finishing 8 of his 11 UFC wins inside the distance. So, yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just something, I'm not going to play. I think Kev is incredibly durable. So I think that's one of his best qualities in this fight. And I'm counting on that durability to make this fight go over 2.5 rounds. G-Man saying, I know Clinton's going to cash some big dog bets. Well, I don't know what Clint's on this week, but I know that there are some dog spots that I think are sticking out. Like I said, the Eric Anders money line, the Estela Nunez money line, I think are very juicy. And I think those fights are going to play out closer than what the bookies are saying here. But yeah, and then I've also got Tracy Cortez, who is a small underdog this week, but that's getting very close to a pick 'em in most spots right now. But yeah, Tracy Cortez by decision. How do you think the whole GameStop and Reddit rebellion ends? Well, I mean, it ends the way all these things always end, which is with the people who have the money winning. That's how all trading game ends. That's how all investigations of any kind of wrongdoing in the markets end. They'll make an example out of the little guy, and they always win. They always win. When you're playing their game, you're not at home. It's a road game. When you're in the stock market, the options market, when you're on the casino floor, when you're at the betting window, it's a road game for you. It's a home game for them. The rules are in their favor. And if they're stealing money, they're doing it legally. And it's just the way it goes. So you got to pick and choose the battles that you fight. And in terms of that, I wasn't paying too much attention, but I mean, I obviously know a lot about the markets. I mean, I've forgotten more about the markets than what a lot of people know, just because of working on the floor of the Chicago Stock Exchange. Being with a few different investment banking firms as their head trader, and passing 3 actuarial exams, you get to really get an idea of what the nuts and bolts and the mathematical base of the financial business is, how this game was created, the engineering that goes behind these financial products. And the little guy, it's very hard for the little guy to go on that road game, and perform well. That's why there's so few people that actually do make millions of dollars doing that kind of shit. It takes a special kind of talent and mindset in order to achieve it. And once you demonstrate that talent for a long period of time, usually somebody snatches you up and makes you a part of their team, where they're doing it on an even bigger basis. And you wind up playing someone else's game anyway. So, yeah. Are we not expecting a brand new Till under Coach Chimaev? I mean, yeah, we could see some changes. Like, we could see him showing up 14 pounds heavy because he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself, like the Gourmet Chechen, for instance. We could see his IQ drop to like 63, which would make him a lot like Hamzat. So we could see a brand new Till, a lot stupider Till, a lot more irresponsible Till, a Till that shows up heavy for main event fights. If he's anything like Hamzat, talent is a really good thing to have, but you get the feeling that Hamzat's going to be one of these cautionary tales by the time he's 40. He just doesn't seem to have any fucking common sense at all, and he just, I don't know. He just seems like a complete fucking moron. And it's like, if this guy wasn't good at fighting, he'd be in a Chechen jail somewhere, Till by KO says just my 2 cents. We got Jazz say, does size play a factor in Cortez versus Hebos? Saw Hebos say she still wants to fight at strawweight next year. I mean, I think it can. But when you look at the actual measurables here, Jazz, they're not far apart in size. So I don't know if it'll play too much of a part here, but what I think will play a part is the fact that the Vanessa Mello and the Stephanie Egger fights for Tracy Cortez took place at 135, and that she's felt the strength of a 135-pound judoka, very high-level judoka in Stephanie Egger. So Hebas moving up from 115 to 125 and probably going to have to be relying on some of that judo to get takedowns, to be the one that gets top control here and wins minutes on the ground and works for submissions. She's going to have a very hard time throwing around somebody like Tracy Cortez, who, won 600 seconds of control time against Stephanie Egger, who's much bigger. The difference in size between Cortez and Hebas is a little bit. Cortez is a little bit bigger, but the difference between Hebas and Egger is a big deal. I mean, they're much different in size, and Tracy's felt that kind of size, that strength from Egger, and I don't think that Hebas is going to bring anything judo-wise that she wouldn't have already seen from Stephanie. So that's what I think matters, is that Tracy's bounced back and forth between 125 and 135, while Tracy, Hebas is a big straw weight who's moving up maybe to flyweight, where she would be middle of the pack in size. So I don't think it makes as much of a difference. What I think makes a difference is Tracy's prior experience against bigger girls. Deepak saying, overrated Dolidze going to get his ass shaved by Hermanson Saturday and then go back to holding people against the cage for 15 minutes. Yeah, well, he's shown some serious power in these last two fights, knocking out Dawkins, and before that, after that, he slept Hawes. So, you got to worry about that power early with Dolidze, because he gets people out of there in the first round. All three of his finished wins in the UFC come by first round knockout. So definitely he's explosive early, and Hermansson's got to be careful not to get caught. But I think Hermansson's the much better striker. I think Hermansson is comparable with his grappling and wrestling. He's big. I'm picking Hermansson to win the fight. And I'm thinking it finishes inside the distance too, with either with a Dolidze first round knockout, or with Hermansson maybe getting on top in the second, working the ground and pound and submission game that he's got. So, but yeah, we'll see, because Dolidze is a big dude and he's got to cut weight for the second time in a short period of time here, taking the fight on short notice. Yeah, I think Hermansson gets the job done. Prince of Mischief saying, have you taken a look at UFC futures on DraftKings? You should do Weezy's predictions and see if you get them correct. Yeah, I actually took a little bit of a look at them, but that's something that I would like to maybe build a model for or something. But that's something that's going to have to be a little bit further on down the road, because I've already got a big month off planned in terms of rebuilding this database for you guys, so that the content looks even better. But yeah, man. That would be interesting too. That's a good idea for a show there, Prince of Mischief. Ice Viking saying, yeah, likes and subs are free, dudes. Yeah, dude, they are. Likes are free. Subbing to the channel is free. And commenting below the video, that's free. It takes a little bit of your time, and time is money. But hey, that helps out the algorithm too. That helps me out. So I appreciate everybody that does that. I appreciate you for hanging out, Ice Viking. We got Prince of Mischief saying, I'm going to stay away from futures. I hate having my money tied up. Yeah, that's a part of it too. There's an opportunity cost there with having the money tied up. My guy, the Mr. Finland is in the room. Jarno Portilla saying, what's up, Weezy? Thinking about betting Philip Rowe. He can miss weight, though. Yeah, definitely. Big dude. I just hate having money on fighters before weigh-ins and seeing them shaking on the scales. Yeah, man, wait on Rowe, because I don't think that line's going to move. I think these guys are well matched. I think that line is about where it should be right now. Nico's definitely fought the much better brand of competition. Nico's got really good power, just like Phil Rowe does. And Phil Rowe's got some holes in his game, man. He doesn't deal well with pressure, and he has a hard time getting back up when he gets taken down. So I think that there are places where Price can win minutes in this fight, but Price is coming off serious knee surgery, according to my guy DFS by the numbers. He alerted me last night that he had all the ligaments in his knee replaced, I think. So he's been away for like 15 months. And because of that knee surgery, we don't know if we're going to see Nico Price 100%. And if we don't, the plus money on Rowe is going to look a lot better. That's one reason that I'm staying away from this fight. I don't have any bets on it yet, is I just don't know which Nico Price we're going to see. I'm used to Nico Price being very active, taking fights on short notice even, being in the cage constantly. We haven't seen him now for, a year and a half almost. So I don't know how he's going to look here. And if he's not 100%, if he's not the old Nico Price, yeah, Rowe could certainly wind up getting that win, Jarno. But yeah, make sure you see him on the scale first, because I don't see this line moving between now and then. And that way you could feel a lot better about it if Rowe does have a good weight cut, because he has missed weight before. Till did this whole camp in Thailand, so no training with his teams in Liverpool or Sweden. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's good to know. Bob Spikerman saying, I'm about to cash Alex Pereira future plus 1,000 max bet in January. Congratulations, Bob. That's huge, dude. Fantastic stuff. You had to be so happy to see that, man. We got Martin Scorsese in the room. Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies of all time. We all owe this man a debt of gratitude. He's provided some of the great movies of our generation here. Martin Scorsese saying, "Oi, what an eloquent and intriguing story. Do you mind if I write a screenplay based on those events? I want another Oscar, and this will get people to buy seats." Marty, I'll tell you what, man. You contact my people. They'll contact your people. We'll work this shit out, man. I could sit in a room with you, and we could have you neck deep in Academy Awards and trim for the rest of your short life, just by giving you Weezy college stories here that you could craft entire movies around. It'll be just as compelling as Goodfellas. I appreciate you, Martin Scorsese. Thanks for hanging out in here, my man. We got Bob Spikerman saying futures have crazy odds sometimes. It's worth to take a look. For example, before Lemos fought Rodriguez as a big dog, here, odds for future champ were like plus 2,500. She beats Rodriguez, and now it's like plus 700. Yeah, dude, you can picture those. You can get ahead of a move like that if you think that an underdog's got an upset. And then once that upset happens, you can hedge out of that bet a little bit, or just know that you're going to get a long shot odds now if they do wind up getting that title shot and winning it before the end of the year. So it's an interesting way to look at things for sure. Boob saying, Mr. Problem with Nunez, you can't tell if she's 30 or 12. Yeah, yeah, she's 30 though. She's definitely 30. She's got like a 12-year career. She started fighting when she was 18. Usman Anjum saying the queen of split decision, Angela Hill, will end in controversy. Yeah, that could too, for sure, because that's another fighter that's kind of gotten robbed a lot. She's the female Zhalga Shumagulov right now. We got French Potato in the room saying, I always try to guess which fight will have a robbery. Yeah, that could be one. They're definitely live, man. I mean, I got hurt on that Zhumagulov decision last week. There's robberies. They happen pretty often, man. Mike Morris saying, I like Cortez as well. Yeah, I mean, her wrestling, her top control, her submission defense, her hips, all of those things look fantastic when she's in the cage, because the hips are so important when you're wrestling and when you're being defensive, because your hips against a judo player are very important. You don't want to feed a judo player your hips, but it's also so important, with your takedown defense, to get your hips away from your opponent, and your ability to get those hips in the right spot, whether you're hipping in or hipping out, so important. Tracy does all of it so well. And her timing on her double leg takedowns is fantastic. She doesn't try a lot of takedowns, but man, does she get them. 14 of 29. And on those 14 takedowns, she's amassed something like over 2,500 seconds of control time on 14 takedowns. That's a lot of top control time. She's just a really good archetype of fighter that eats up minutes and makes it really hard to win minutes against them. So it's somebody that I've been going to the well over and over and over with, and it's been paying off. Chip Pyler saying, crushing them tonight in NBA. Get it, Chip. Go. Take that money. Rick Sanchez in the house saying, what's up, Weez? Love the show. Finally catching the show. Let's go, boys. Sup, Clint, Tajik, Shroom, everyone that's cashed this week. Much love. Much love to you, Rick. Good to see you in here. You've probably said before, but what got you into martial arts? I did. So I was wrestling at a very young age. One of my earliest memories was being in a wrestling room, not wanting to be there, being like, what the fuck is going on? Because there were like a bunch of 16-year-olds in there and shit. And I was like 5. But yeah, got into wrestling. And then the first martial art that I did was judo. And I loved judo. So doing some wrestling and then also having, not just the high school wrestling, but the judo as well. When I saw the first mixed martial arts fight that I ever saw, I was just glued to the screen. The idea of being able to not be within this stringent rule set of the sports that I did growing up, like wrestling, like judo, where you can't do certain things. Now all those rules are just gone and you're allowed to use these different martial arts. That's what really brought me into MMA, was having a love of judo, having a hate but a respect for wrestling. I hated wrestling. I hated it. It was so much less fun than judo because it's just grinding, while judo can be really fun. Flipping a dude on their fucking head is fucking fun. Grinding while some dude screams at you to try to get a single leg and then try to hold a guy down for 13 seconds is not as much fun as judo is. So, yeah, definitely love the judo, though, man. That's what got me into it. Andy Becerra saying, do you have a gut feeling Roman has another finish Saturday? I'm leaning Jack, but Roman's momentum is getting up there. I don't have a gut feeling. But I did bet that under 2.5 because I think it's going to be violent. And the analytics love the under 2.5 on the prop template at plus 140 where I got it. So I could see absolutely a Dolidze finish. I could absolutely see a Hermanson finish. I think that these guys are both very talented. And the fact that Roman's making that second weight cut in a month is part of the reason that I think the fight ends. And the short turnaround, these are all reasons that we could see this thing ending early. But yeah, I mean, Roman's power looks different right now. He literally rearranged Kyle Dawkins' face. The man had to have facial reconstruction surgery to fix the rearranging that it got at the hands of Dolidze last time out. So my God, yeah, I mean, it could absolutely happen. Nigel Lee's saying that Dolidze is indeed going to pull off another W. Dream Sick is saying Thailand usually means some special juice and Muay Thai training. Yeah, definitely Muay Thai training. Special juice, I wouldn't know anything about that, but it could mean that. Nigel Lee saying this is a dog card in several spots. Price, Hermanson, Holtzman, and Pavlovich are landmines waiting to get stepped on. Yeah, I agree, dude. I mean, Pavlovich, first of all, it's just a heavyweight fight. So, any of those guys have got the power to put you out with one shot. Holtzman hasn't fought in over a year. Hermanson is fighting a guy who's coming off 2 straight first-round knockouts, and he's a very good grappler, and he's got a lot of power on the feet. And Nico Price is coming off a year and a half layoff. Well, not a year and a half, but over a year layoff and a knee reconstruction surgery. So I agree with everything you just said there, Nigel. King of NPC is saying, I'd be undefeated 2 weeks in a row if it weren't for the 4 Jalgis robbery. Yeah, the Jalgis robbery. Yeah, that was rough, man. I went and I watched that fight back again, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. How did he not win that fight, man? And I recently rewatched taping the Hibas Cortez fight, that Chukagian Hibas fight. How the fuck did Hibas lose that fight? People that were saying that Chukagian was landing heavy at the end of the first, I'm like, what? Landing heavy? She's never knocked anybody down, first of all. And she was controlled for like 3 minutes of that round. She lands like 4 strikes that don't even rock Hibas, and that's supposed to make up for the fact that she spent 3 minutes on her back? I don't know, man. But yeah, dude, the Jalgis if it weren't for the Zhalgas one, I would have been up over 7 units 2 weeks in a row. But it was 7 units 2 weeks ago and 5 units last week. So I'm not complaining. Keep stacking them that high. I'm good with a little robbery every once in a while. Bob's saying exactly, Weezy. Once that Pereira versus Adesanya was booked and the bet was live, I started piling on parlays with Adesanya at the last leg. So I would make that. That's how you hedge, baby. That's how us traders think, Bob. Good work, man. But I'm so glad you cashed that, dude. What a huge hit. Max betting a plus 1,000 and hitting it. That is fantastic. King of NPC saying, I've been on fire lately. All those hours of Weezy lectures are finally coming to fruition. They're starting to work for me, too. Because I'm starting to listen to some of the shit that I say and actually make good decisions myself, King of NPCs. So I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out here on Ask Weezy. 40 of you guys. Tajik Bey, appreciate the big donation. We got a donation from Glenbot yesterday, a huge donation from my guy Victor de Jesus yesterday. Thank you so much for being generous with your time, watching the channel, hitting that thumbs up, hitting that subscribe, commenting below, joining the Patreon. I appreciate all you guys for coming out, hanging out with me, and putting eyes on the content. Bob, Keith, King of NPCs, appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out on another episode of Ask Weezy. I will be back next week because we've got Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz for the 205-pound championship. We're going to do it all over again. But as of right now, I am checking out for the rest of the week. I will see you guys on Pub Sports Radio on Saturday for the watch along and on Pub Sports Radio on Sunday for Stat Diggers for UFC 280. What is this one going to be called? Events and fights upcoming UFC 282. I'll be back next week, man. I appreciate all you guys. Who just said good evening, Uncle? Oh, we got Keith in here, my man. Appreciate you. Yeah, doing well, Keith. King of NPCs. We got Daz Files, Papa Chuck, French Potato, Bob Spikermans. Appreciate all you guys. I'm going to check them out. Let's shave them again. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Orlando. God bless each and every one of you guys, and I will see you next week. Good night.